What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarthe and today I'm going to do a quick breakdown of all of the new strats, really anything that is changing from last month for the most part from None of the Above's run that set the new world record in AQ40. Now the first thing I do want to mention is that of course this is the very first run. Every major guild, or every guild really, has already run their first run. So None of the Above did take the new record, beating Salad Baker's record by 36 seconds, but we absolutely will see this record be beaten by both None of the Above and probably Salad Baker's. Progress had a rough run today. Noobs will probably come up there, Rise, and even Onslaught. So we are going to see this record absolutely be beaten. Actually, None of the Above could probably save almost an entire minute even. So I think in all honesty, we might see a sub 28-minute run by the end of this circus to move us into Naxxramas. And one last thing I do want to mention as well is that I did do a breakdown of this run in its entirety on my Twitch channel, of course, twitch.tv/Sarthe, and we are breaking down pretty much every one of the major speed runs while they happen, as well as they do happen. So make sure to come and hang out with me on Twitch and break that down. But another thing I wanted to do on top of just shortening this for YouTube is that there were quite a few names that I kind of butchered in the video or during the live stream, and that's kind of just a thing that can happen quite often. If you end up watching my stream, it happens a lot with follows and it's a little frustrating for me, but it's just a thing with having dyslexia where I say names backwards a lot of the times. So I wanted to go back in and fix this. So today we're going to use the POV of Tragor's. So I hope that's pronounced right. If not, please correct me. And we're also using the POV of Jealous, the rogue. It would be really, really insane to see the POV of Sketo or Sketto, the main tank who actually does some of the incredible pulls. So I will point these out, but they're running again 2 more times in this circus, so we can just wait for them to come up with even better strategies or just even run it even cleaner. They did have a very clean run where there's only 1 death until Cthulhu. I don't even think there was any deaths until Cthulhu. So execution wise, they had an incredible run, which is kind of the flaw that happened in every other speedrun that we've seen so far this week. So as the week goes on, we're going to see possibly even crazier pulls. I will point out places where they could move faster and also point out the new strategies. So with that being said, of course, shameless plug, but I always do say this, make sure to like and subscribe if you like this sort of content. I will be covering all of the speedrun news, as well as doing another speedrun news video later after this entire circus is done. And other than that, let's get right into it. Okay, so as usual, the first thing we really want to look at is the composition. The difference between a composition on the Horde side and Alliance side is that Horde are extremely favored to warriors, even more so than Alliance. We're seeing Alliance pull off bringing multiple mages and it actually succeeding extremely well. We're also seeing 1 warlock in most of these speedruns. Some of the top guilds are also still bringing 2 warlocks. So we're mostly seeing warriors, 3 rogues, and in some of the guilds we're actually seeing more rogues. The big thing is that the rogues do succeed in stunning Sarthe along with the paladins. So hopefully if Sarthe knocks you back, that actually will cost you quite a bit of time no matter what. And also another thing we are looking at is, of course, there's 1 hunter in this run. 1 hunter, only 1 hunter, and we also have, of course, 1 druid. Next, I can scroll down just to see the deaths. There's only 4 deaths in this entire run, and again, the 1 death on Yums from the Mind Flay, but the other deaths were just from Divine Intervention, and we actually saw today in Salad Baker's run, so this is actually a little bit different than Nota's, but we actually saw a hunter being pulled down into Cthulhu's stomach while being Petri Flasked. So it seems like Petri Flask isn't actually fully working as a mitigation from being pulled into Cthulhu's stomach, and that's something that NOTA actually had to deal with a little bit of mediocre RNG on the stomach. Now there's a little bit of time that could be shaved off in the beginning of the raid for this guild, and mainly that is cleaving down and killing things even better. Having the Eradicator being so far out away from the rest of the raid is a little bit sketchy. Unfortunately, they did get a Thorns mob, and that's just RNG. There's no matter how much you fish in this raid, you're always going to have RNG, but the Thorns mob kind of needs to be dealt with last every time, especially in these melee heavy comps. And in the next group, they're actually going to get a Thunderclap mob, which again will be the one that you focus down last as long as you don't have a Thorns. So you pretty much kill everything but the Thunderclap and the Thorns mobs. If you don't end up having those, you can just straight raw cleave everything down. And if you're playing a little risky and you only have one Thunderclap, you could even pull off just cleaving everything down as well. And then even pulling these into Scarum. So moving directly into Scarum right after you kill the last mob, or as you are killing the last mob, they could already be pulling Scarum or moving into him. So this is where a little bit of time could potentially be shaved off. Now, right after Scarum, there is the biggest pull, and this I probably misnamed, but this is definitely the none of the above pull, because they are the first people to pull this off, the first guild to showcase this big pull. And Onslaught actually does a similar pull, but I think they're copying it. Was obviously a day or 2 days later. So this is a huge pull, and this is going to be the pull before the bug trio. So what we're seeing is actually before Bug Trio, as we had seen before, we were seeing, starting with Rise, where guilds were pulling everything from the left side. Here, I'll skip forward. Guilds were pulling everything from the left side this way. We were seeing guilds run in here and pull everything there down to the rest of the Bug Trio room, or the pre-Bug Trio room, at the same time as we were seeing people start pulling the inside of the Bug Trio room. So ideally, you can pull the whole inside of the Bug Trio room, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Skedo here. So this is the pull that is the biggest, most amazing pull that they do in this run. Right here, you're seeing everybody hold off on healing yet until he has aggro. Now they're starting to heal, and all of the mages are still not doing anything, right? So there's no Petri Flask pull here. We're seeing a Thunder Fury tank move forward, tank all of these. A Greater Stone Shield is popped on him. He also has Thorns as well, which is just extremely helpful here, and is possibly there's a Fire Shield right there. So using everything he can to have any AoE aggro, and if he loses any aggro, he goes back in and picks it up. Again, the mages haven't even started DPSing yet, but the mages are getting ready to start DPSing, and so not even half of the raid, like 7 people move off. 1, 2, 3, 4 paladins and 3 mages and 1 tank. They just move off, and then the mages just go in, start fire striking. All of the mages here do have the dagger from Mardon, basically having infinite mana. As you can see, they're getting a lot of mana replenished here as they are pushing this. And then right as the warriors die, which is kind of the sketchiest part, right? Right as the warriors die and the burrowers are summoned is why we have 4 paladins. So the warriors are getting low. You're going to see a bubble go off there. So the first bubble, you're seeing everyone pop Mind Quickening Gem. All the healers are also going to bubble as well, so they can't pull aggro. Every one of the mages is going to get bopped. And also, here's the shield wall from Skedo. So this is the big pull, the Mind Quickening Gem, because the scariest part of this pull is then when all of the warriors die. And to save time, ideally, these warriors die at the exact same time and the burrowers die also, but now they have already cleared this entire section and they're waiting for their guild to come forward. And that is also where everyone, as you can see up here, is coming from Bug Trio. Now, there is one thing that could save them a little bit of time in their pre-Bug Trio pull. So I'm skipping back, going to Jealous's POV. Again, this is a rogue POV here. And so the questionable thing, or the one way that they could save time right here this early, is they actually didn't do the double pull here, which is something that for safety is very smart, because they're missing a third of their raid or a fourth of their raid split up doing the other stuff, but they still probably could pull off the double pull. It again is just going to be a much riskier thing, but as you can see, they only pulled one pack there and now they pull the second pack. So they could potentially go for this double pull, but it was probably called out within the raid themselves to not go for this because they have been doing all of the practice for this and they know exactly how sketchy it is, and it's a higher risk just dying. If it is a higher risk to die, it's not worth it. And then we see they pulled Bug Trio early by people getting knocked into Bug Trio, which doesn't actually, it's actually not like a bad thing. It's pretty good because they actually instantly can start attacking the boss. It's not good if you're like parsing because nobody's going to DPS the boss early, but if you can pull the Bug Trio closer to everybody else, you can't pull Bug Trio outside of the room. And also the Bug Trio can actually bug a little bit where they will heal if there are still people outside of the room. They can just evade bug, which is a sketchy thing. So make sure everybody is in the room if you can. I don't know if them can charge the group that's completely away from everyone else. But again, just make sure that everyone is in the room moving into Bug Trio. This was the big brain pull. These guys are the first people in the world to pull this off. None of the above. This was amazing. I'm going to skip forward to Fankris now because they actually had a very clean Sarthe pull, and obviously during the gauntlet they actually did use speed use items again, so pretty much every guild is using speed use items there. They do have the hunter go in and first pull the crawlers in, and then they are going to have the hunter go in again and then pull the second crawlers, and this is something that some guilds have actually not been doing, and Onslaught actually had a crazy strategy for this. So if you want to know about that, I will talk about that later in a different video, in the speedrun news video, or even just on stream. But this was very clean where they pulled both of these in and the other group was not padding towards them yet. And then here is Jealous. Jealous is going to pull the next room, and the big plan here is to pull the entirety of the pre-Huhuran trash. Pre-Huhuran trash. Now this pull is very scary and very sketch, and they actually don't get it off perfectly in this run, but it is a Petri Flask pull. The idea is to get everything and then move forward so that, or Petri Flask, so that your entire raid group can be there. Now he is Petri Flasking down here during the Visitus encounter, so his guild is still killing Visitus. He is already in position, so we will skip forward for the second Petri Flask. As they're about to engage with Visitus, you're actually going to notice that he's going to pop his Flask of Petrification. And the reason why he has to pop a pre-Flask of Petrification is because Visitus will teleport you to him if you are not in the room when he does his split. So the question is, though, there is seeming to be a specific mechanic going on with the Visitus split, or the Visitus summon that he does, that actually teleports you to the boss. That was actually kind of an exploit, and it was done by noobs. The guild from China actually has a rogue move forward, pull Visitus. As they are at the Bug Trio, you can see down here that the rogue isn't near anyone else, and you're going to see some people are just going to start getting out of range. It's going to start with the druid, I believe, and everyone's going to slowly but surely teleport out of range. You can see that Visitus has been pulled, and everyone's going to slowly but surely teleport out of range, teleport out of range, teleport out of range, and then as they get ported all the way to Visitus, and this is a way to fully skip the gauntlet, but it may... I don't know if any speedrun guilds are gonna try it outside of this, but then you need to use a Petri Flask when you get ported so that you're not fighting the boss, waiting for everybody else to get ported. So you'll see now a Petri Flask is popped. Some people will have to pop their second Petri Flask to make sure that they are all petried while the rest of the guild gets ported over here. So this is just a random mechanic that I wanted to throw in that was sent to me today, so I just tossed this in there as well. Now here it is, speed items use, sprint is used, as well as a gnomish cloaking device on top of normal stealth, which actually gets overridden by stealth, but that might actually just increase your stealth effectiveness so he doesn't pull those mobs. And then the idea is to try to get all of these as best as you can. And it's pretty much to be in a good position. And the dense dynamite tries to go out, and there is the Petri flask. So perfectly, if you're a little bit more forward, you can have, and with good padding, you can have everything here. The only thing that's scary for the rest of the raid is that one lasher, really. Like, that is the terrifying thing. But now, because it didn't get both of the packs or all of the packs, they actually are going to have to 2-pull, even 3-pull actually, this entire run or this entire room. But that is the big pull in here, guys, is a big Petri flask pull. And if you have 2 lashers, you want to focus that down first usually, or just pull it out of the group, which is what they do. They're incredible. Like, their tanks are absolutely amazing at picking things up really, really quickly and moving them out. So now this is where a little bit of extra time could have been saved with this second pull here, if it had padded perfectly into that Petri pull. And then also, we're going to see in 1 second, there's actually one more pat, and the pat in the room has not been pulled yet. And that is, again, another few seconds that's going to be basically holding them back a little bit. Although this is the world record, again, guys, they probably can shave off about a minute with a flawless run. So we probably will see them do a sub 28-minute run soon. But look at this, right? They have to pull this entire group after. They had to dismount again, and then they will have to try to mount up and run right into Huron. That is another amount of time that was kind of cut short. And then back to Tragor's POV, we are seeing actually one Warlock. Again, guys, we are seeing one Warlock, and then we're going to see a Paladin tank on the other side tanking this. So some guilds have been using one Warlock where the Warlock rotates. That gives you a little bit of risk of the boss's healing, but Alliance have the advantage of actually using just a Paladin tank on the other side. So on the other side, as the Emperor's switch, there's going to be a Paladin tank. And so let me pull up the logs here, and you can see that Learned took almost as much damage as Starweaver. And this is the Paladin that was tanking as well. So we are seeing the Paladin tank here on that second transition. And so then if we go to his gear, you'll notice that he has shadow protection gear as well as some tank gear. So the Lawbringer set, a lot of things, or Judgment, just mixing in pieces that have shadow resistance. And we also see shadow resistance enchant on his Shroud of Pure Thought, and he is just basically spamming kings. So he is mostly spamming kings here, and we'll go into this, right? He's healing on the first transition, healing on the second transition where he is not tanking, and then Greater Blessing of Kings. This is it, and this is how he is getting all of his actual threat, just using this on repeat on their warriors. And we've seen this before, of course. Just Paladins can tank with spamming kings because it has absolutely insane threat. And then the last thing about the run that I want to go over, of course, they have used Divine Intervention for their Paladins to die. Like I mentioned earlier, their 3 Paladins are dead, and those are used usually on priests and such. It is going to be their stomach RNG. So in the stomach, the first person was actually Starweaver, which is the Warlock, which isn't advantageous overall. He was the first person, and he actually does less damage than Namzi does within there, but they also get a rogue, which is unlucky also. Ideally, you get only warriors, but it's fine for the Warlock to be put in there because he can put Curse of Recklessness on both of the mobs as well as dot up both of the mobs. It's just not fully ideal. And they actually did get one of the warriors that was put in there was one of the warriors that had to use Recklessness on the Twin Emperors. They had 3 warriors use Recklessness on Twin Emps just to make sure that they pushed it before there was another transition. So that is really the main points where they could save time, and the main new strategies or the main big brain pulls that they did use. None of the above. Huge congrats. You guys absolutely crushed it. Sketo I can't wait to see his POV because he played so incredibly well. He's a god tank. It was amazing. Jealous, thank you for sending me your POV. I appreciate that a ton. Tragor, I don't know you, but huge congrats. And everyone, I will have links to these in the description right below, as well as a link to the log so you can break it down yourself. Of course, as usual, my name is Sarthe. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have questions or want to see me cover any other things, make sure to leave that in the comments. And check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Sarthe, every weekday at 5 p.m. PST, and sometimes on weekends. Other than that, good luck out there, guys. Let's see who breaks the record next. We will see 2 more sets of Darkmoon Faire runs, and then we'll have a full breakdown with the speedrun news. Peace out.